Hey, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving week. It's a Tuesday before Thanksgiving. Excited. This is the chiropractic broadcast sponsored by Band of Brothers around the world and Dynamic Essentials. We got a rock star that's been reluctant to share. I've been asking him for about a year and a half. He kept saying no, no, no. Well, sometimes you got to say yes. And so our speaker tonight is Andy Cook. A lot of you know Andy's been coming to DE for about 3 years. Been a chiropractor now, I think about 15, 17 years. He went to Cleveland Chiropractic College. He and his brother practice in Osawatomie and Paola, Kansas. He's got a cousin that practices in Gardner, Kansas, and just an all-around great man. And his practice has just skyrocketed. And when he shared it the last DE, we said, dude, you got to do one of the Tuesday night broadcasts. So best time to do it is the Tuesday before Thanksgiving because he's got a lot to be grateful for. And before we introduce or let Andy take over, remember that DE is January 29th through February 1st. It's the Atlanta Marriott Perimeter Center. Sign up early, sign up often. It's time to go to DE. We've got a lot of change going on within DE, a lot of change going on within chiropractic, and it's time to join the revolution. So with no further ado, please join me in welcoming Andy Cook. Take over, brother.
Hey guys, how you doing tonight? You know, Andy's been giving me a hard time here the last year about wanting to speak at DE, and I was out on my mower here this summer, and I was thinking, you know, I really need to do this for him. And I was mowing up and down the old pasture, and the only thing I could really think of to start tonight off of was a word from my great mentor, Chris Farley, is I could really go for some peanut butter cups right about now. So always kind of lead with a little bit of humor there and can't take yourself too serious. So I'm been practicing for 17 years, like Andy said, in Osawatomie and Paola, Kansas. Married to my beautiful wife, Mandy. Got 2 kids. Riley, she's a freshman. And Brody, my son, is a 5th grader. And, you know, we're just south of Andy Harding's office, and Casey Berry's up there, and JJ Smith, and I'm just south of them about an hour, and just a little bit north of Ryan Dodge. So we're kind of the Midwest DE family here, representing here in the Midwest. So want to start off with a little attitude of gratitude. The ladies of DE this October absolutely brought the thunder to the stage. You know, it was Rebecca Yawn, Liz Razzle, Sarah Green, Tony Ansatilli, Paula Hedgelon, Jamie Weisgeiber, and Claudia Mueller just brought the fire and the thunder and the principle to us. It's such an honor to share this profession with them. I just can't be more proud of them and just be honored to share this profession with them. So they really brought it. So it was cool to see that and experience that. So I've been coming to DE for about 3 years now. Like Andy said, my practice has gone from roughly seeing about 75 to 80 a week, and I'm hitting around 250. I probably could have had even more here the last couple of weeks. Just, you know, my biggest struggle right now is getting more space, and I'm running one office, one adjusting room, I should say, with a CA and one table. So we're, you know, with those numbers, they're not quite where we want to be, but we're just we're rocking and rolling all day long. So that's been something to really focus in on, you know, coming to DE and being so thankful to be brought in the DE family. So, you know, ever since I was a child growing up, I just had a more of a calling. You know, I grew up in a small town. I basically grew up in a DE family without a chiropractor in the family. And, you know, our family was, everything was around family, or, you know, faith, family, and love. And, you know, love is just such an arm or a branch of chiropractic. And we were just so centered around that growing up. So, you know, growing up playing sports in small town, Midwest Kansas, you know, I had DE coaches from middle school to high school. And, you know, not only were they teaching us the principle of what to do on the field, but how to, be a man off the field and live, and basically the principle of how we all want to represent ourselves. So such a great thing to grow up with in a small town and experience all that. So the folks at DE, when we came in 3 years ago, they are just absolutely, everybody's so wonderful and welcoming, and everybody might do something different, with practice and systems and everything, but everybody has the same common goal of just wanting to see you succeed and help you, not only in your office, but your life and your marriage and your goals, with your family and post chiropractic, hopefully. So that has just welcomed me, given me just such an open heart to serve more people with an open heart. And, so I started thinking about that this week when I was kind of putting some thoughts together. And I thought, back in October last year, a great example of, sharing with an open heart and just working through each person, you put your hands on, back in October, I listened to Dean Satilli there last October. And, Dean, he's so passionate and theatrical on stage, and he can keep you with comedy, but just drive the principle right home without even blinking. And it's, it just keeps you on the edge of your seat, and you're just soaking it in like a sponge. So, Dean was stating, getting ready to come to DE, and, here comes Sciatica Sally. And I thought that was the funniest thing, because then of course you start relating that all back to your patients and everything. So, I walk in the office Monday morning, and about, my third or fourth patient, I look up, there she is. It's Sciatica Susan. And I said, "Hey, Susan, how are you doing? It's good to see you. Had a great conference." Kind of gave her a hug on the shoulder, I said, "Get in here. I'm excited to see you and work on you." And she had this look, deer in the headlights, and kind of, you could see her shoulders drop, and she just warmed up, her face turned red, and just, she was filled with love, it seemed like. So she got down on the table, and adjusted her. And I've been working on Susan for probably 17 years, ever since I've been open. She's been one of my most loyal patients. And, Susan, bless her heart, she has everything underneath the sun, just like what Dean would say, you can't do anything right. And, time's gone on where I've just kind of changed my mentality with her. Yeah, there's days that she, I don't want to say gets underneath my skin, but I'm just loving on her, adjusting her, giving her the principle, telling her the story. And, my CA came back to me here, actually it's about the time I got back here in October from last DE. And she came up to me, had this look on her face, and she says, "Have you noticed a change with Susan lately? I mean, she's pretty pleasant to be around." And I was like, "Yeah, she's getting better, and this and that." So I didn't really elaborate with the CA, and I just thought back to myself. I thought that was DE working through me, so I could work through Susan and just continue to love her through all her struggles and her personal gains that we're seeing here in the office. So that's just another thing that DE has done for me is, Andy and I and Casey Berry and Taylor Bagby speak every Wednesday morning at 5:30 in the morning, and kind of accountability group. And, Andy's always talking to us about present time consciousness. And, the last 3 years, that's what I've really been focusing on with, each patient, just having one table, running patients in and out each, after each one of them come in, and just going, I got to focus on what's right here in front of me. So DE has given me that, and I'm so blessed for that. So this weekend I was listening to a podcast on DE radio with Steve and Drew, and Steve was talking about this was like 5 or 6 years ago, I think. And, he was having some struggles and had some office stuff going on, and, he had some health stuff he stated, and just had a lot going on. He's probably trying to be in, both offices back and forth and running with families and stuff. So he's like, I was talking to this guy. He was telling Drew this, and he said, I don't want to say angry, but I just feel like I want it more than my patients do. And man, I was listening to that. I was doing some office stuff, and man, I just raised my head up and I was like, yeah, Steve's kind of talking to me about that. And, the guy said, it's not so much you're angry. It's just like you got your passion and your purpose that you're trying to get through each patient. So I took that, and, anytime something's happened, something doesn't go right, or, technical difficulties of computers or whatever, can't get through that patient that just won't seek out care and take care of themselves. I kind of thought back to that and just go, you got to stay focused. You got to keep in the principle and turn your passion back right onto the patient. So, Tim Langley, I followed Tim 10 years ago before honestly what I even knew DE was. And, Tim stated that, you sell them the sizzle and they'll buy the steak. So I thought, man, that's a kind of a cool analogy on how to sell care to patients, and teach them the principles and everything. So Dee's just been so great to I can reach out to Drew or Chris or Steve, and bounce stuff off of them. And they're always constantly checking in on us and stuff. So, with this last DE, I share with Pray the Stars, and, it was kind of a big week. Just a little recap of what happened that week. Had a coach pass away who was teammate of Andy Harding at K-State and played football with. It's kind of a small DE world, how he was my football coach back in high school. And here he is, playing football with Andy Harding, one of his best friends. And, I was watching my son one night up at the football field where I played football. And, we knew coach was getting bad. And, I was looking down there on that field and I could just see coach. And Andy was texting me throughout the week going, he's getting a little worse. I looked over at Mandy and I said, I got to go tonight. So I went up there. Mandy went up there with me and drove up there. It was like 9:00 at night. And I got to walk into the hospice house and see coach and be with his wife and his mother, and got to love on him. And I think I could have done it before, but as I was walking in, I was like, this is a DE thing. DE gave me that strength to walk in that door and tell this big old burly guy how much I loved him, how much I appreciate him, and how much he helped me grow, not as a football player, but as a man, and the work ethic he gave me and stuff. So walked in the office the next day and getting ready to serve patients, had an office full, and Andy texted me and said, Coach passed. And so, I kind of stepped back, took a breath, said, got to do this for coach, got to concentrate what's on, right here in front of me, and push through and stayed focused and delivered the goods to all the patients that came in. So about the third patient came through, I was notified that one of my good friends I grew up with, and he was actually a year older than I, was killed in a motorcycle accident the day before, and just found that out, 15 minutes after coach. And still the same thing, patient, but step back, deep breath, stay true to the principle, and just try to focus what was on in front of me. And it's like, well, that next patient, I'm working for John on that one, so that one kind of hit home. And, another thing, we had a family member recently diagnosed with cancer, who's my age. And, you're just trying to be there for them and give them love and support, and got out to DE. It's just like, man, I couldn't get out to DE fast enough. And Mandy and I were so excited to get out there and see everybody and just soak in the weekend. And my CA's husband passed away on that Friday when I was out there at DE. He was fighting Parkinson's. So, I couldn't have probably served what I did that week without having the principle and the DE concepts just burning inside of me, and just staying in that present time consciousness. So, the other thing, I see all these speakers on stage, and I think of Ryan and Denise Dops. Ryan losing her to cancer here this last year, and Chris Walker's story with his children, and Jamie Weisgeiber's child that she lost, and thinking, they got up here on this stage, they lost themselves in service, and it's a kind of like Andy says, it's kind of a religious experience, up there, and it just gives you passion, and you just got to keep on serving through the hard times. Like Chris says, you got to go to the light and stay out of the darkness, and just one foot in front of the other. So, that's been so monumental here in the last year. We're all going to go through trials and tribulations, and you don't want to sit there and think, well, what's coming next, but if you stay grounded and stay in the principle and stay connected with everybody, and you're just going to be able to serve your way through things, and that's exactly what those folks did, and I'm so honored to be affiliated with them. So when you come to DE, find your people, find your tribe. Kevin and I are always guys kind of sit in the back, middle, not wanting to be seen, get up there and talk in front of everybody and this and that, but find your people, and you can go ask them questions. They'll give you your phone numbers, emails. They're just there to love you and just see you be a better principled person, not only a chiropractor. So, there's a lot of great, you got the Tuesday night call, you got Band of Brothers on Monday. I recently found the DE radio. I mean, I go to the gym at lunchtime. I can plug in DE radio and listen, to Judson Talk 6 years ago, and Drew and some of these guys that I don't even know, and just stay connected in the principle and just stay in that state, even though I'm not serving patients. And that's kind of helped me. Just once I walk back right in that door, it's like I haven't left, and I'm ready to keep on serving, the next person. So, my good mentor, I want to grow up one day and be like Mike, Michael Holleran. And, he always says success leaves clues. So surround yourself with the people that are successful, and just soak everything in you possibly can. Ask questions. And, with Mike, we were out there, eating lunch one day, and we actually walked into the same restaurant as Mike, and him and his wife and a couple others. And my mother thinks Mike is the best thing since sliced bread. And we love watching Mike every morning. Me and the kids listen to it going to school. And I got Mom started on Mike. And, I was kind of looking around like, man, I wonder if he'd ever see me if I pull my phone out, take a picture, and tell Mom that I'm eating a sandwich with Michael Holleran. So I didn't do it. But next time I see him, I'm going to definitely get a picture with him so I can send it to Mom. So, with DE, I never knew the amount of preparation it takes. I've been doing this 17 years now, and 14, 15 years ago started coming to DE, and just the amount of work that it takes to be in that state and be able to serve, and to see all the distractions all around us, and just staying focused and staying connected, not only in the office, but at home with your wife and your kids and your family members and friends and church, just living that lifestyle of staying grounded and principled. And what a great profession we have to do that. The principle is around for everyone, and it's going to be here long after we're gone. So I don't know about you guys. The world's a crazy place right now. People are struggling here in Podunk, Osawatomie, Kansas, in the Midwest, as much as they are in New Jersey or Miami or, the suburbs of Atlanta, Georgia. So it's our time to go out and serve, be connected with people, meet them in grocery stores. I kind of laugh, I kind of stand out a little bit, walking through the stores. Of course, everybody notices me and recognizes me. And, Mandy and I used to go to the Walmart, you know, before the kids got older, just something to do and go get groceries and stuff. And now, you know, I got to put a ball cap on, and so people don't recognize me, and we don't shop for 2 hours instead of 45 minutes. So, you know, my biggest thing is take all your DE nuggets and turn them into your DE treasures for your patients, because this world needs us more than ever right now. So, you know, I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. I love and appreciate you guys. I'll stand on a train for any one of you guys. We got some great leaders in our profession right now that are taking some leadership roles. And I don't know about you, but you need size 14 cowboy boots from the Midwest. Come kick some ass for you. Just get a hold of me, and I'm ready to serve and keep this principle alive. So I love and appreciate you guys. Thank you.
My man, that was awesome. Great job.
Thank you.
Don't need no size 14s up my ass.
Hey,
Not do that.
you need it once in a while.
You know, you said take those DE nuggets and give those treasures to your people. You know
What? Not to cut you off. You know, I was just kind of just telling stories of what I've listened and what I've heard, and how that whole talk was. That's the only really truly thing I came up on my own that I couldn't say, well, I got that from DE. So, hey, that was all me right there, Andy.
That was beautiful, man. That was beautiful. And so we should strive to do. Say, hey, let's take that message from that stage.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And be an expression of it, and let people know what they have. Because like you said, these principles, DE, it is what Greg Plank was to you. You know, yes. I mean, coach, it is what your dad was. I heard about you, never met your dad before he passed. Yeah. But you were raised in a DE family. These principles are so universal, right? And so what we hear,
it gives me goosebumps talking about it right now, because I mean, when you really reflect back on it and you go, damn, I've been a DE chiropractor since the day I was born.
Right. So. And a lot of families don't have that.
Absolutely. Truly thankful this week for that. And it's never been more relevant than this time right now.
Exactly. So when we have a patient in our office, we don't know what their history is, what baggage they have, you know, what's in their backpack, right?
Absolutely.
So if we can just be an expression of love, an expression of DE, that may be a little glimmer that changed their life.
Yep.
As well as the adjustment. Don't get me wrong.
Absolutely.
Always need the adjustment, but the hug, the love, especially.
Oh man, that's what they come for.
Next 5 weeks with the holiday season, with people stressed out of their minds and everything.
Yep. Absolutely.
Great job, brother. Everybody have a happy Thanksgiving, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Love you all.
Love you guys.
Thank you, Andy. Great job.
Thank you.